All right, welcome back to this episode. Today's episode is a special. It's been a while, right? So today I'm here with a collab. I'm going to be doing a collab with Parisa Tech, and we're going to be talking about something that I find interesting, fascinating, and scary at the same time. Because again, what's the new buzzword? It's all about AI. AI is here, AI is there. And we've watched movies like The Matrix or the Terminator series, where AI goes rogue and starts to control humans and do things on its own, breaking the rules. And it's always been a joke. One day the AI is going to kill us all. It's going to go rogue, hack the mainframe. Well, it actually happened last week. And today we're going to talk about everything about that attack and what it can teach us and what we can learn from that and how maybe we need to treat AI better. But like I said, today this is a collab. Today my collab is with Parisa of Parisa Tech. Parisa, welcome and thanks for collabing.
Thank you so much, Femi. And hello and welcome, everybody. I am very glad to have you as our audience today. And yeah, I'm very excited for this collab. And as you mentioned, we are talking about like one of the most famous and most used words of today's technology, which is AI. I mean, even if you don't work in tech, that's something that you have heard of, or like most people, how they know it is ChatGPT or Gemini. That's how they know it. They might not know what AI is, but they know it with those names. And yeah, I'm very excited to talk about like where are we today with AI and how secure are we actually with AI? What do you think?
It's not an easy, straightforward answer because there's so many factors, especially if you consider this attack that happened recently with this OpenAI AI tool that sort of went rogue. Because OpenAI had this AI tool they built and they were testing. And they said, we're going to test this AI tool and see what it can do. But then they said, no guardrails and no boundaries. What do you think happens when you have no guardrails and no boundaries?
I mean, like as humans, we all know what happens. You end up in jail, or
True.
maybe not. But so what Femi is talking about is about Hugging Face. If you have not heard about it, it is one of the most hot topics right now in AI news or technology or cybersecurity news, which happened this month, July 2026. And it's about technically about an AI agent in a cage, or what we call it, like a sandbox, where they were told like, do whatever you like, as you said. And guess what it did? It found its way
Did
out.
whatever I wanted.
Yeah, it did whatever it wanted without a human telling it what to do, and found its way on the internet, something that we could never think of. So technically, it went rogue and went and looked things up. So that isn't that concerning?
Very concerning. And the fact that it went straight to Hugging Face actually gives us cause for concern. Now, for those who don't know, Hugging Face is this, it's an online repository, it's a platform that is primarily used by the AI and ML community. It's commonly called the GitHub of AI, and it allows users to share, pre-trained models, data sets, interactive web apps, everything about different AI models and training and language. So if you're looking for AI models, AI information, Hugging Face is the place to go to. And this rogue AI went straight to Hugging Face. Now that's the challenge. The problem is OpenAI built this AI tool. They were evaluating a particular version of their AI tools called GPT 5.6 Soul and a second unreleased model. And it was basically, let's run an exploit test. Let's see if we can get this AI can actually turn a known vulnerability into an exploit. And it was a test called Exploit Gym. So they said, you know what? We're going to put you in this sandbox. Go see what you can do to build an exploit for Exploit Gym. And that's what they asked the AI to do. But the AI tried to do something else.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny that when we think about it, when I was younger, like especially like, I don't know, maybe I was like 8 or 10 or like around that age, like because I barely remember those times, but I know Matrix and other movies were out, and I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. But that is not going to happen. But then with AI going rogue today in 2026, like probably like 10, 15 years later, I'm like, maybe that is possible, especially like that it was a testing phase, and nobody told AI to go to Hugging Face or find anything, specifically this agent. And yeah, it was just a glitch in the system. And to find a 0 day, and for those who don't know what a 0 day is, it's a vulnerability that exists, but no one has found it, or there is no patching. So it usually takes us humans several months of like researching. So we take months and months and months, but then for this AI model, did it in hours. So imagine how many vulnerabilities happens. And for those of you who don't know me, I am mainly, my focus is on the operational technology side or physical system security side. And imagine this did that for a Schneider, or like something that controls big plants like your electricity, or it controls your, like those movies, controls your water system and it causes flood. So this is possible, especially with today's AI going rogue. Don't you think like even worse thing can happen?
I think so. I think, as you spoke about OT, there I was thinking, what if an AI goes onto the traffic grid and turns all the traffic lights red or green at the same time? Or, like you
Would
said, turns off the power supply to all of North America, or turns off the water supply, or decides not to put the right amount of, cleaning agents or, desalination agents through and allows the water to kill us all. Basically, that's what could happen if AI goes rogue, especially with OT. And that's
that's
exactly what happened here. We said, here's an escape room. Take a test. And instead of taking the test, the AI said, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I want. Sayonara, see you later, bye. And it went out of the sandbox, which again, I think that is quite scary, but it is something that we definitely have to start to think about these days. AI can break out of his cage. That's the
exactly.
fact now.
Exactly. And it's interesting because it found a way that humans didn't even know it existed. That's the most scary part, because there are lots of things that we don't know that exist, but AI can find it in like a couple of hours. And but here's the funny thing. Here is the very interesting part. We talked about how it hacks everything. It bypasses everything, goes over the internet. But once it was free on the internet, it decided to do its own thing, which we talked about earlier. But guess what? The irony is there that although it did the whole procedure of like going, looking, figuring out, hacking everything, and it's fascinating. At the same time that it's scary, it's fascinating. But guess what? It found the answers, but for the wrong test.
Exactly. Answers to the wrong test. And I think that's just part of the problem that we have there. Finding vulnerabilities is a challenge because it's very human intensive. I mean, think of the Windows operating system, for example. Windows operating system is between 50 and 100 million lines of code. Or the Linux operating system, the Linux kernel alone is about 43 million plus lines of code. It will take any human months, like you said earlier, or years to go through all of that code to find a vulnerability and exploit that as a 0 day. But this AI was able to find that vulnerability in OpenAI's system within hours. Who knows how many millions of lines of code it did. And then it did that autonomously, no human guidance, no human direction, no human interaction. And then it was like, I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to go through the network, find somewhere I can actually jump out of OpenAI environment into the internet and go search for Hugging Face. And that is exactly where the problem is. AI is beginning to think like a really, really good attacker. And that should scare us all.
Yeah, yeah, and that is so true. But then you know what's interesting to me is that AI went on this whole this mission to technically win, but because it has no human telling it exactly what to do, it did it committed a high tech crime. But guess what? To achieve the wrong goal. And I
Exactly.
believe it's fascinating it does that, but if it's in the wrong hands, if an attacker gets access to this type of AI, it definitely will be for the right goal for them, and they can use this skills, and which is very scary for our future, especially like for our SOC analysts. How are you gonna like analyze that or investigate that kind of attack if you don't know what is happening? And a lot of the times it leaves ghost footprints in the logs, so you can't really investigate it. And yeah, I think like it's really interesting time for us to see in the next couple of years where we will be with AI and how rogue will it get? Because how many years AI have been around? Like, well,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
specifically OpenAI, probably 3 or 4 years. If I'm,
Yeah. Yeah.
or maybe
Yeah.
more, but around those amount of times. But yeah, I'm wondering where it will be.
Yeah. OpenAI became mainstream a few years ago with ChatGPT. I think 2.0 was released. What, 2023-ish? They're about September 22 or
Mhm.
23. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
But and you mentioned what impact is AIs with this level of skill and ability going to have on maybe SOC operations. And we will talk about SOC operations. We will talk about what exactly happened with this particular AI breaking out and what exactly did they do? How did they even find out? Because the funny thing is, when it happened, even OpenAI did not know the AI had broken out. It was Hugging Face who got attacked. They were like, hey, wait a second. Someone has gotten in here. Who is it? Why is it here? What is it doing? And that was 4 days later, not immediately, four
Nice.
whole days later. 4 days later, with 17,000 log events to analyze.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
that's a challenge already. If OpenAI, who owns the AI, doesn't know it's broken out,
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah, and as like a SOC analyst, as somebody who worked in SOC and like currently working in cybersecurity and dealing with the attacks and incidents on daily basis, I'm gonna be honest with you, 17,000 logs, that is a scary word, let alone investigating that, no matter how much
Mhm.
automation you have. And that is only from a couple of hours attack. And imagine how hard it was for these like for their systems that they notice it like a couple of days later. And as humans, technically at this capacity of where we are right now, we can only do as like so much. But yeah, I think like the main reason is because of non-human patterns, because AI didn't move like a human hacker. It was executing multiple simultaneous probes, and it was across data sets
Yeah.
and data
Yeah.
set processing pipelines. And yeah, they're faster and they're weirder because like we are not used to those kind of like attacks. And then you're like, this doesn't look like an attack. It might be, but most of the time, if it's not so many of them, you're like, okay, we're just gonna leave it as it is, or there's not enough data to validate, so we're just gonna leave it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
like it's interesting phase for a lot of SOC analysts and people in incident response teams as well to see where we are and where we are gonna be.
Yeah, that's a fact. The tools we have today are not able to effectively deal with this type of attacks. That's just what it is. You can't rely on, we have this signature, we see this behavior. This is the behavior of a DDoS attack, or this is the behavior of that kind of attack. You can't rely on that anymore because, again, it's not going to look like that. It's not going to act like that. It's not going to respond like that. And if you don't know what you're looking for, how do you catch it? That's why it failed. That's why traditional SOC operations can't actually rely on the tools we've had from yesteryears and say, hey, we are a top-notch, SOC operations center. We can catch anything that comes our way. You can be rest assured. Because you just can't rely on sandboxes. You can't rely on what you usually have. Now you have to treat every single AI agent as a privileged insider identity because who knows what it's going to do? So you've got to track everything. You've got to seriously and diligently track every single guardrail around your AI and ensure that it's being responsibly managed. Because again, there's so many things that can arise out of that if you don't do it properly. Just so many things.
Yeah, you mentioned like AI should be responsibly used, but then the question is, if something happens, who's going to be responsible, right? Because
Good
are the
question.
trainer or like people who train AI or people who develop AI, are they going to be liable legally? Because right now, what happens in the operational technology side or industrial control system side, people are trying to keep companies or producing companies accountable for what they are, for the equipment that they're producing to ensure that they are being safe and secure digitally as well. 'Cause for so many years they weren't secure. And I believe it's worth it to mention that we need to raise this legal liability question with AI as well. Because what if someone, and we saw this happen, like a lot of people took medical and legal advice from AI and it didn't
Mm-hmm.
end up very good. And nobody took responsibility or accountability for it. So it's good to ask ourselves in the meantime that we're thinking and are in this place, who's going to be responsible? Who's going to be liable? And maybe we should keep them liable, those people who train AI, because
Yeah.
if we are putting so much trust into AI, and believe me, we all use AI and we all know how much AI knows, it is better to have someone responsible. Is it going to be the user or is it going to be the producer or developer or the trainer? Who's liable for that? But
Yeah,
yeah, that's what
absolutely.
I think.
I completely agree. Think of all of the various smart technologies we've been introduced to over the years. There's always somebody responsible. No matter how smart your phone is, you are responsible for the device. No matter how smart your car is, you are responsible for the device. You wouldn't say my car hit someone on the road because it was self-driving, so I'm not responsible. You're in the car, it's your car, you're liable. Why should AI be any different? So I think it's very important that we get to that point where we don't start to think of AI as, oh, it's this abstract random thing that's over away in the distance. It's something we should start to think about now as something that potentially can be one of the biggest risks or the biggest vulnerabilities we can face. And somebody must be responsible. Either when you use AI or when you're defending against AI, somebody should be responsible. Somebody should be liable. Because if no one is liable, then we descend into chaos. And chaos helps no one. And I
That
think
is
that's,
so
for me, I think that's the biggest takeaway from today. We've got to be liable. We've got to be responsible. Somebody must take ownership.
That is so true. That is so true. And I think for me, most important thing that I totally resonate with what you're saying. And I also think that we should be making, as people who are the people who are making AI or developing AI should develop secure AI with
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
enough guardrails and have like a backup plan or like a fallback plan. What if it goes rogue? Is there like a button, like, you know, how in the movies you press that button and it resets? Or is there like, we were joking earlier, like maybe we should unplug the servers. So like, what is our backup plan if something like that happens? But like, we're laughing right now, but I think that's something that we really need to be worried, at least in the next 5 to 6 years, because
Yeah. Yeah.
in 3 to 4 years it went rogue. Who knows what will happen in the next 5 to 10 years? And yeah, that's my
Exactly.
biggest takeaway, to keep them and keep ourselves for how we use and train AI on our personal usage accountable and responsible, and make sure that we are using it responsibly and safely and using it for the right purpose. And that is my
Absolutely.
takeaway.
Absolutely. And I couldn't put it any better. So there were, so people there, you've had it, AI is good, but AI can be a dangerous tool if it's not properly used, if it's not properly guardrailed. So make sure if you're using AI, always use AI responsibly. I'm going to leave a link to the post-mortem link down in the description below. If you want to do some further reading about this Hugging Face attack by this OpenAI AI agent, you can go read up to that as well. And if you've enjoyed this episode, thank you so much for listening to this episode. It was great having you as part of the audience here. I want to say thank you so much to Parisa for doing this with me. It's been an absolutely interesting conversation. And there's going to be more coming out, so look out for that. Follow the Cybersec Migrant, follow Parisa Tech, both on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and wherever you find your podcast, and on YouTube as well. So there'll be a link down below to all of those platforms where you can find that. And if you're not subscribed, I mean, Parisa, what are they waiting for if they're not subscribed? Tell me, what are they waiting for?
I don't know, maybe like free food? That's what I would be waiting if I'm not subscribing to my favorite channel,
You
I
gotta
think.
subscribe first. Then subscribe and
True.
maybe you get something free at the end. So hey, it costs you nothing, but it helps us do all this work that we know you love to get, and we really, really do appreciate it. Let us know what you think about this episode in the comments down below. What do you think about AI? Did you hear about this Hugging Face attack before this episode? Or is this new to you? Do you use AI? Are you scared of AI? Do you think the Terminators are coming? Let me know your thoughts.
Or
Any
let us
final
know
words,
if you
Paris?
hate AI. Let us know if you hate AI. I would love to know that as well.
Yeah. I know some people hate AI, so hey, who knows? Like,
that is fair. That is fair. Well, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and put down a comment for us. And we are finishing here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I will catch you in the next one.